Is an amazing furniture making shop in Portland. They've been in Woodstock for about 22 years. They're moving their manufacturing facility up into the St. John's area, which is really exciting for you guys. Sad for the Woodstock neighborhood, but yay for St. John's. And Kelsey Moody started out in a shop at the Joinery, and now she's industrial sales, commercial sales, and has some beautiful things to share with us about the Joinery and their use of good wood.
Thanks for reading my introduction. Made my 8 minutes stretch a little longer. All right, good. Appreciate that. So yeah, as Lynn said, we design and build handcrafted wood furniture. Been doing it since 1982, so been around for a little while. We really focus our designs on and sourcing on building things that will last. So when the Joinery is talking about good wood, we are talking about it kind of from the standpoint of furniture grade, furniture quality wood that has also been thoughtfully sourced. And to have furniture quality wood, we're looking generally for the hardwoods. So sometimes softwoods, but most often we're looking at hardwoods. We also really are looking for high grade woods, and we're looking for woods that are stable and durable. So that means that it's been kiln dried properly. We can count on it lasting. Minimal defects as much as possible, and we're also looking for beauty in the wood. So we like to design things that are simple enough in their design that really allow the beauty of the wood really to shine in the pieces that we make. And the thoughtful sourcing is really important as well to us. So as a certified B Corp, we have a lot of checks on who our suppliers are, and that's really important to us as far as our values, our core values. So we really want to work with suppliers that can kind of meet that quality standard, but also come from a place of thoughtful sourcing. And we really, really rely on the partnerships that we've made from our lumber sourcers. So some of them are direct foresters, some of them are distributors, but we really rely on those partnerships to supply us with that good wood that we're talking about. So although the Joinery works with quite a few different species of wood, today I want to highlight Oregon oak, as many of you have already talked about, but I think it's a really great example of good wood for us. It's a local sourced wood. It's a wood that we have developed some really amazing partnerships, some of who are here today, who I will talk about a little bit briefly. But I think it's really those connections that we have developed over years that make this particular wood so good. So James mentioned Xena. Xena and Hyla Forests are both really close partners of ours that supply Oregon oak, and these are not the only woods that they mill out or log out of their forests, but is the primary wood that we work with for them. Family Forest, as was mentioned, been around since the 80s. Great folks, we've worked with them for years, and we, as the Joinery develops these partnerships, we also really like to engage in visiting these forests as much as possible. So we've had some opportunities to actually go out and see the work that's being done in these forests to restore the Oregon oak, savannas, and woodlands. So actually back in March, we were hanging out with Pam and Peter, and we were doing a tour of their largest forest and got to then plant some trees here. You can see this. We actually made a barrier out of some trees that we cut down at the time. It was really an ingenious idea, I loved it, but made this giant fir tree fence basically around the oak trees and the other species that we had planted to kind of companion with the oak trees. We recently got an update that the trees are actually doing quite well. Yeah, so only a few decades, until they're ready, but one day, maybe we'll be lucky and Joinery and Hyla will still be chugging along, and maybe I won't be there, maybe nobody else will be there still, but hopefully someday the Joinery will get to make some beautiful furniture out of these trees. And I'm totally aware that, well, am I totally aware? I think it's, hello? Okay, I think it's recording. I'm aware that the work that they're doing, both Hyla and Xena, is not specifically to provide the joinery with high quality furniture grade wood. Like that's not their point, right? Their point, the efforts that they're taking towards this restoration is really focused on being able to maintain and restore these beautiful forests. What I'm hoping is that the joinery's patronage of their mills and their buying their lumber is what is really able to support their efforts to do that restoration work. So it's, to me, getting the thumbs up. I love that. Thank you. High five. We really hope that we are, the sourcing and the materials that we're purchasing are able to really support those efforts. So that's kind of part of the supply part of the good wood for us. So once we get the wood, and in the cases of Xena and Hyla, we're actually getting it directly from them, so not going through a distributor. Get it directly into our shop, and once we have that lumber, we then turn it into good furniture. So we use that good wood, turn it into good furniture, and I wanted to kind of use the example of one of our newer designs. This is the mod desk. We've kind of, over the past decade, really focused on more modern and simple designs. This is a great example of that. And when we design pieces, our entire design process really comes from a place of how can we build a piece that's going to last, and how can we build a piece and design a piece that's going to be desirable for generations, right? So that comes in both stylistically and functionally. So the wood that we're choosing to use, it's really thoughtfully placed, and we're using particular grain patterns and directions in certain ways and in certain joinery types in order to make a piece of furniture that is going to last. And we're also trying to kind of stay away from high on-trend designs and kind of maybe mute them in a way that makes them still desirable for the future generations. So in this case, this is a desk that we released, I think it was about a year or two ago, but I think one of the good examples of this kind of approach is this splined through tenon. So it's so thoughtful to the point of we're orienting that spline in the direction that really is going to allow that wood to expand and contract in the right direction. And I think that's how we approach what we're doing as far as how is this piece going to fit into this piece, and how is it going to look good, but how is it going to be made in a way that we know that will allow that wood to move and expand and contract over time. Because we know that that's a given. I'm sure most of you all know that wood, even though it's not still in a living tree, that wood is going to expand and contract. It's going to move, and so you have to plan for that when you're designing furniture that you want to ensure is going to last. So although this isn't an Oregon Oak example, this is what the desk looks like as a whole, and it's paired with a couple other pieces that we have in our standard product line. Our standard product lines kind of try to integrate designs that will kind of pair nicely together. Sometimes there will be a specific line that has multiple pieces across product lines. They try to make sure that our pieces can all fit together nicely. So we do both commercial and residential work. Primarily, we do a lot of commercial or a lot of residential work, and we're getting more and more into commercial spaces lately. But I think this is a completely different approach that we take as far as, so the good wood part coming from the sourcing all the way to the consumer, we are kind of focused on what is the end user's priority, right? So the priority of a residential end user is very, very different than the priority of a commercial end user. Right, so the residential folks are like, I'm going to pass this down to my kids are going to pass this down to their kids, we're going to have it forever. But the commercial user isn't really thinking that way. But I find more and more often that the commercial user is really interested in finding a way to feel like they can connect with the pieces that are in their spaces. So finding a way that they can really understand what the story of the material that they're getting. And I think this is a great example. So this is a project we did for Stoll Reeves. They actually had a connection to Xena. And so they were like, we want to bring in the story of their lumber into our new space. And so we were able to use their lumber, create these beautiful conference tables, and they'll have these for a very long time, and they'll be able to tell people that they're with, like, hey, we know the people that grew these logs that were then turned into these tables. So I think our ultimate end goal is really to to make pieces that will last as long, if not hopefully longer, than the life of the trees that they were made from themselves. Thank you.